Hello and welcome to Conversations in Cleantech, the podcast that celebrates the clean tech industry and the people that power it, brought to you by Brightsmith. I'm your host, Jenny Gladman, and in this 6th season, we delve deeper into the world of clean tech startups and their founders, from inspiring stories and words of wisdom to the toughest challenges. You can expect to learn about how these pioneering startups and the founders at their helm are propelling us towards a cleaner, greener tomorrow. In addition, they'll be offering you timeless teachings to enlighten, engage, and inspire everyone, everywhere to live their purpose. So today's guest is the CEO of an extremely interesting Netherlands-based hydrogen startup, HyET Hydrogen. Maria Fennis has been working in the renewables space since 2012 and has a large affinity for new technologies, innovative business ideas. She's a true motivator, team player, and has an innate ability to see the bigger picture. Following her bachelor's in chemistry, a master's in science and business, Maria jumped into a career in renewables and hydrogen and hasn't looked back since. Now at the helm of HyET Hydrogen, she's on a really exciting journey to grow the business and push for change on a global scale. So, Maria, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jen. Happy to be here.
Can I hand to you to tell our listeners a bit more about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Well, you already gave a very good introduction, but so Maria Fennis, CEO of HyET Hydrogen, background in chemistry, and really worked in renewable technology development throughout my whole career. So I actually first started at HyET Solar, really doing hands-on product development, so testing and optimizing things in the laboratories, translating that really to the big machines, so really do test runs there as well. So I worked there for 3 years under the wings of the CTO, Edward Hamers. He still remains in the company. Then afterwards, I did indeed a Master of Science in Business Management, as I thought it's very nice. You can develop a nice product, but how do you really put it into the market? So you have strategy going in there, raising funding, but also building the team and really making the product, and also make sure it enters the market, because especially in the hydrogen business, we're developing a lot of cool things, but it's quite hard to really roll them out and get really the confidence also on the newer technologies. And after that master, I worked at company in fuel cells, so at Netstek. That's where I really got in contact with hydrogen for the first time. And actually after that, I got a position offered at HyET Hydrogen. So I really started as a general manager alongside Rombout, then still the CEO. So really had a great mentorship during that journey. And after 1 year, I was able to take over the position as CEO, running the company now for 4 years. Went to quite a growth phase, so really exciting. And also the hydrogen business, it's moving in all different directions, where you can first start with really high pressure development, high pressure hydrogen. We see it also shifting more in the lower pressure and really large scale. So it's quite dynamic and interesting, I must say, and I really enjoy it.
Good. I think that's one of the most important things, and a lot of people forget about it looking at their careers, but being happy is often, I think, the key to success.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And going a bit deeper into who HyET Hydrogen are and what you do, what the mission is, for those of the listeners that haven't come across HyET Hydrogen, can you share the vision of the company, the mission, where you're headed, what you make?
So HyET Hydrogen is doing electrochemical processing equipment. So we actually have an electrochemical compressor that can be used to compress hydrogen. So I think now a critical issue is how you get really the hydrogen from the point where you make it to the point where you need it at an affordable cost. So we are really in the, storage and distribution of hydrogen. So where I mentioned we can compress it from lower to higher pressure, so we can go up to 500 or 900 bars of outlet pressure. And the inlet pressure can really vary from 0.5 to the pressure range that you would like to have if you want to connect it to the hydrogen generation equipment. So that's really on the compression side. We also have extraction technology. So if you have a mixed hydrogen stream, so hydrogen, nitrogen, but also hydrogen and natural gas, we actually can separate the stream and extract the hydrogen, because the membrane is only selective for hydrogen. So then again, you can use the existing pipelines, for instance, blend in the natural gas or the hydrogen, I mean, and then extract it at a location where you actually need it. So you use the existing pipeline as storage, but also as distribution center. So we actually just got awarded a very big project in the UK with National Gas and DMV and Element 2. So really excited. That's going to start on the kickoff is going to be on the 13th of September. So that is where we're actually going to demonstrate on large scale the extraction of hydrogen from the blended natural gas, and also then have a, how do you call it, a purification and compression step behind it, because it's important that the hydrogen that goes into the car for refueling has the right purity. So with our compressor, we can also purify the hydrogen. So you have actually three products, I would say. You have the compression, it's only compression of pure hydrogen. You have the extraction, which is often a mixed gas stream where there's like 50% hydrogen and maybe 50% nitrogen, or then the 10% hydrogen in what is it, the natural gas, but also the purification and the compression in one. So then you often have around 99.5% pure hydrogen, and then there are some contaminants in there that needs to be taken out, and then you can also compress it to the pressure you would like. And in the end, it's it's a key part, I would say, for the infrastructure. Because often everyone thinks about generating the hydrogen, but not really how you can actually get it to the location where you need it. So where we can really play a big role is at the location where you generate the hydrogen, so hydrogen production via electrolysis, but also at a location where you have, for instance, hydrogen as an off gas, so it's going to be vented or burned. We could also purify that, and then it can be used back in the process, or purify and then compress it on the location, and then you can maybe use it for other purposes. So it's actually a really cool product, I would say.
And obviously, you had the journey you talked about to go from working in solar and product through the kind of business and learning the commercial aspect, and now 4 years as CEO. So how has that journey been? I think that's something that fascinates a lot of people. That being at the helm of a business, there's a lot of weight on your shoulders. But talk to me about the journey that you've had over those 4 years and what that feels like.
I was relatively young when I joined HyET, so I think I was still 29 coming in that position. And me actually having the opportunity to have the mentor really directly next to me and learn from him in this job really, had my growth curve go insane. So I learned a lot in a very short time, from raising money for the two companies, with the whole due diligence process that comes with it, then closing it, then afterwards also having the feeling like, hey, I think we got the deal, but then you fall in a kind of black hole because it was so busy. So also then make sure you have a holiday plan directly after, because else it just feels weird. So that was interesting. And then that process where you have indeed doing the contracts with the legal representatives also of the other company, and then really going neck to neck how you can accept certain terms and maybe others you cannot, and how it all comes together. That was I found that really exciting, and that together, of course, with all the discussions you have with the potential investors, the dialogue, but also, motivating your, how to call it, promoting your company, showing what you have, the team, of course, and building the team. I like that also a lot. So really finding the right people for the job, and really creating, kind of family or friendship amongst the colleagues. So if I look at all the colleagues, they're friends also outside of the office. They go on holiday together. I'm of course the boss, so I'm often not invited, which is okay. But then I just host some drinks for the office, and then I also get to meet them. No. So that is something I'm really proud of, that we created that kind of culture and environment. Yeah, so it's very easygoing. Besides that, also learning how maybe sometimes need to let someone go. I found that an experience where I really needed to learn how you do such a conversation, because often I want to be kind, but then sometimes you cannot always be kind. But in the end, I think if you do it all in the right way, in a respectful manner, you can get anywhere you want. So I think that's for me really the basis in my whole career. Make sure you do it respectfully, and communicate nicely about it, and make sure you keep everyone on board. because then you can always look yourself in the mirror and be happy.
Definitely. And I don't think there's a CEO out there that will tell you it's an easy job. It's one of, if not the most difficult job, but yet perhaps the most rewarding job as well, because you really get to see the outcome of all of the work that you've done. And obviously seeing HyET's success so far must feel great.
Yeah, for sure. And also the people being successful in it. Eh? So we've been now there for, I think the company was founded in 2009. So we've been there for a while. And really now at the moment of the passing the certification and really rolling our products out in the market. So we have a few colleagues that are already 10 years in the business, so they are super excited. So that's really cool to see where you worked on it so hard and now you have the first product release and you see really the markets coming and the interest for the product. So it's really exciting times. We're really on that tipping point. You have that nice hockey stick always, so in all the business plans. Well, I have the feeling we're there now. Yeah, it's cool.
Good. And you talk about that tipping point, and actually, it comes up a lot on this podcast, particularly in hydrogen at the moment. So I talk to guests across different areas of clean tech and clean energy, but I think for the last few months, it's come up a lot, that tipping point of the hydrogen industry, and we're just seeing so much activity in it. And how is, like, from your perspective, from sitting right at the heart of the industry, what does the next year or two look like for the hydrogen space?
Oh, that's an interesting question because it has been going in all sorts of directions. What is really required is making sure we have a good policy because what and really long-term policy. So what I see, especially in the Netherlands, is that often it's not, how do you call it, pursued in the right way or with the right motivation. So I know, what was it, a few years ago, it was like, no, we don't have an overshot of renewable power. It doesn't make sense to make green hydrogen from that. And now, if you look at it, well, we actually have a big overshoot, but we didn't really focus on getting the green hydrogen production on track because everyone's like, yeah, maybe we go that way. So, yeah, I always have a bit the feeling that we do things a little bit too late. But I really now feel that there is really a push coming, but especially for processes that have hydrogen at their released at their process. So really the purification and then doing something with that hydrogen afterwards, as that is from existing processes. So refineries and all other applications where there's already something happening where there is hydrogen, which could maybe be reused. So also for the semicon market, that's really the hydrogen nitrogen separation, where the hydrogen just needs to have a very high purity to go back in the process. So they're still a bit hesitant to do it in that way, but they do want to store it and maybe then how do you call it? Put it back into renewable power with a fuel cell. So you see the energy storage and really the more the decentralized options coming forward. So the products we're going to release now are really for the building, heat, and power market. So that's often where you have renewable power, so often solar cells. And then you have electrolyzer. Then you have our compressor. Then you have some storage, and then a fuel cell. Then also a heat pump. And actually, those solutions are then being installed at hotels, but also big villas or more like a neighborhood level. So you see, everyone wanted to be more independent of the grid, and I think almost all new builds needs to be fully renewable. So there's a big push on that for those kind of energy storage systems. So that is really cool picking up now, where they really like our compressor because it's silent and it has no moving parts. So they even want to put it inside a house instead of the compressor now being outside the house with the storage. So in the end, it also makes the whole system more efficient. So that's a really cool product coming out soon.
I'm thinking about people in the sector, because I think no sector progresses without people doing great things. Who in the sector have you really admired and think's doing some amazing work?
That's a good question. I often look at a bit my company and some other companies what they're doing, but I think Enapter is doing a really cool job. So really with their electrolyzer. So that's also why we are connected directly to the Enapter. So we get a lot of requests from our customers, partners, stating like, hey, we would like to have a compressor. Well, Enapter I think outputs around 25, 30 bars, and it can actually go directly into our compressor. because we use humidified hydrogen. So I really think it's cool how they really ramped up their manufacturing capacity in such a short time. I think the knowledge institutes are also doing a really cool job in the studies and the new developments. So that's also how we work at HyET Hydrogen, but also the other companies in the HyET group, is we try to leverage key developments in academics and then use that in our products to actually improve our products. So that's also a way to attract new talent. So from academia that say, well, I actually want to work in industry. Well, then if they already worked on a project with us via the university, it's very nice then to jump over. So that is a really cool, I would say.
And I think quite forward thinking, because when you have a sector that's growing exponentially, the one of the biggest battles is often the talent and the people that understand the sector. So putting back into people who are still in academia and perhaps earlier in their career, or not even started their kind of career in industry, is fantastic, because it's bringing more and more people into the sector with some knowledge, which I think is fundamental. There's a lot of people who transition from other sectors, but getting people who are eager and early in their career and ready to start out in the sector, they've often got new ideas that people haven't had before. So I think that's fantastic. And speaking of Anapta, the lovely Vitia was also on this show a number of seasons ago. So we will give her a shout out in the show notes. But I couldn't agree more. What they've done is really incredible, and taking an idea and making it something that's so huge. So
Everyone is using an Opto nowadays, at least the ones that come to us for the compressor.
yeah, and I think it's fantastic. And another business with a brilliant woman at the helm. So yeah, they've got a great founding team, but I think she's extremely impressive too. So it's always nice to see. And I guess looking at the challenges of the business, so we talked about, I guess, some of the positives of being a CEO and some of the challenges, but a fast growing business. We just touched on talent, but I think people is often one of the hardest challenges, both finding them and then retaining them and making sure they're doing what they should be doing. How have you found that learning curve?
Well, that's actually a very interesting question because, especially in the more like the technical field, you have a lot of men in the business. So also the especially the technical oriented guys are often have a very straight vision on how they want to go. Don't get sidetracked that easily. So it was for me really an experience. Like, okay, in what way can you motivate them in really getting the product under development, and also making sure they keep the enthusiasm, because they want to do fun things, so doing something repetitive often is a bit boring. So really making sure you keep that dynamics and the variation in their jobs was really a challenge. And I also have a very young team. I think most of the people are below 30. So that also makes it quite a challenge because they need to learn a bit more on the processes. How do you professionalize the business? Sometimes a bit more structure, a bit more reporting. So it's often the education that comes with it in growing the people is also a challenge, but everyone is really accepting it and wants the business to succeed. So that is often the common driver where everyone says, okay, if we need to do it this way, then we will go. So it's really that team spirit that is very important in making sure you can adapt and also implement new processes.
And thinking a bit more about yourself, what lessons have you learned, or what have you learned about yourself since you've been CEO and taken on that responsibility?
Well, that you always remain the boss. And that was, I think, for me, maybe the hardest lesson in the beginning, because I'm quite a people person, very social. So that was for me really challenging to accept that you are always the boss, and that sometimes not really being a part of the team because you are the boss. So that was for me really, hard to accept, especially in the first few years. But now I'm like, yeah, okay, I have the responsibility for the business. I need to make sure it flourish and that we grow and that we succeed. So then I often also need to do things that maybe the people do not like. So then you don't always need to be liked, but you do it in the right way with communication. But so also Communication. So how to communicate to your team was also a big learning point. So often, use less words. It could be better. Yeah.
I think it's an endless life lesson we continue to learn, because no matter how much you feel like you've got it down, a new situation arises that you've never dealt with before, and you have to think, how do I go about that? And I think it's those moments, it's good to have those mentors or peers that you can turn to sometimes outside of your organization to get a little sanity check.
Indeed, yeah. I like once I started the job at HyET Hydrogen, I had a coach. So for me, it was really important that okay, I'm going to take this leap. So I had what was it, 4 to 5 years work experience, maybe with my studies also included, and then I jumped to the role of general manager. So I was like, okay, I think I have the capabilities, but still I need to really grow into this role. So I also had the condition that I would like to have a coach next to me, or at least someone who could advise me and have reflection points. So that really helped me through my whole growth phase. So sometimes you experience a situation in the office, and because you never experienced it before, because you really didn't have that experience before, it's good to reflect that with someone outside of the business who can really give you that mirror, and then gives you also more confidence in that you dealt with it in the right way. But maybe the other person could have felt otherwise. But for me, it was really important to have that confirmation that the management style or leadership skills I was developing, or the soft skills, that it was also part of me. So that I can always try to be someone else, but that doesn't work. It's like you need to make sure you have really your own character and your own strength that you can put in the business, and a lot of energy. So always when I come in the office, everyone says like, "Oh, Maria's there." I often make a lot of noise, but at least they know I'm there. And so no, it's I really enjoy it, and also the people with whom I work with. Yeah.
I think that's a great thing, and you touched on two really important points there. I think having a coach is underrated. I've done it myself, and speaking to a lot of people in my day to day, but also on this show who have had coaches. I've never met anyone who's had a coach and not valued it. I think finding the right coach is important, and your second point there on being authentic to yourself is so crucial. And I think it's one that people often struggle with if they take the reins from someone who's very different to themselves, because the very nature of people is we're all unique. So if you take over from someone who's very different, I guess there's something inside you that thinks maybe I should be more like them, but actually it, like you said, it never works. You need to be true to yourself, and there's always points you need to adapt for a situation. But if you're not being your authentic self, it's very difficult, I think, to communicate in the right way and to gain the respect of your team. So yeah, couldn't agree more. And then thinking about outside of work, because as we've talked about, it can be a stressful job running a business. I mean, it's very rewarding, but it still comes with the pressure. How do you go about keeping that positive mindset, and maybe like a bit of downtime, relaxation? How do you get there?
Yeah, so I run. I think a lot of people that run businesses also run in the morning before they have an important meeting. So that's really helping me in clearing the mind. I have a very nice, cute dog who's actually sitting next to me and being very cute. So that is also really relaxing. So I really enjoy walking him, and he gives me all the love and attention in the morning. Just a happy, jumpy dog always make me happy. And then my partner, who supports me throughout all the challenges in this position. So the flexibility he has given me so far in the 8 years we're together, that is, I think, what made it possible for me to really do this job. So often holidays are moved because of something in the business that has more urgency. But he's working for himself, so he's very flexible in that point. So that has been also a very big support. When we started dating, I think it was on the first date, he said, "Well, Maria, I think you're going to be a boss." And then I was just studying, so he knew it already. So I always come back to that point where I said, "Honey, well, you said it on our first date. I was gonna be boss. So yeah, now you also need to deal with it."
He obviously liked it. It's a long time.
Yeah, no, he liked it. Yeah. So yeah, and for the rest, I live in a very nice place, a big garden. So really being outside, but also on the water, really clears the mind. So whenever I'm on the water, I forget everything.
Good. It's a good place to be, on the water or under the water. They both have the same effect. Brilliant. And then sort of rounding up the conversation and just kind of thinking to the future, for those listeners out there that are thinking about how could they be a part of tackling climate change. And this doesn't necessarily have to align purely to hydrogen, but what would your advice to those people be? And kind of, it's the biggest problem that the world's ever faced, and it feels like it's very hard on an individual basis to make that impact. But if someone's assessing their career and where they could go, what would you say to them?
Well, I think it's important to follow your heart and yeah, don't lose the passion. So what I really had throughout my whole career is I was doing the chemistry studies, I was working in the lab, but I was working on something that I could not really see. So I wanted to have something tangible, a product that could really change, yeah, and have impact on life, but also on the energy transition. So that's where I said, okay, I'm really gonna focus on a product. And if that's in renewables, well, that would be amazing because I'm actually helping the climate and doing really good for the world. So I would say never forget why you do things and make sure you, yeah, keep on to that throughout your whole career because you can get a salary raise anywhere now. I think it's the war for talent is going on. Everyone is being stolen everywhere and gets new positions. But it's really stay true to the heart and where you believe in. Also for your next steps, because you see people hopping a lot of jobs, especially because they can get higher salaries. But it's important that you don't lose your own goal in it and why you actually want to do a certain job.
I think great advice, and a wonderful story that you've told us today. So thank you very much for sharing your experiences with us. I'm excited to see what's next for HyET and for you. And yes, I think we're actually both about to sign off and go on holiday. So I think that's our last message to the listeners. Don't forget to take a break. So thank you. Always have a balance. It's very, very important, and it's something I think some people do forget when they feel the pressure. But it somehow you come back with new ideas and new vigor for the job. So yes, thank you very much for joining me today for a great conversation. I'm wishing you every success.
Thanks, Jen.